Artificial intelligence helps in finding solutions to complex business problems in a more human-like fashion. This resembles adapting characteristics from human intelligence and implementing them as algorithms in a computer-friendly way. Artificial intelligence, much like PCs in the early 80s or the internet in early 90s, remains little more than a curiosity for most business leaders. AI is the most trending technological term in business world today. Calvin Hindle is joining with me now to discuss about AI services on Azure. There are many AI services on Azure platform. How these services have structured?
So how the AI services have been structured in Microsoft is there are another tier of services which are called cognitive. So under cognitive services, you contain various type of AI services like speech recognition, face detection, vision recognition, language understanding. These are all pre-trained models which any developer who doesn't have data science knowledge can leverage these services through an API. So that's on cognitive. Now, the other services which Microsoft has provided for data scientists is where when data scientists need to do certain experimentation, R&D on large sets of data, and they need to build their own machine learning or deep learning models. So there are a lot of services like ML Studio and Microsoft Auto ML, Microsoft Azure ML Services, and so on. So basically, the two, I would say the main areas is one service that any person can leverage through an API who doesn't have any data science knowledge. And the other service is for people who are data engineers or data scientists who can write Python or R script and have some kind of knowledge of the basic data engineering to build their models.
Can a beginner with no data science skills be able to utilize these services to develop an AI-infused application?
Yeah, definitely. Um, if a developer has some skill of full stack side development, it can be, front end, Node.js, JavaScript, and has some kind of understanding in, using web services such as REST web services, he definitely can, leverage this API services to develop AI powered applications. Now, I will just show you a small demo, how easy it is. Let me share my screen. So if you have some kind of generic knowledge of Azure, you can directly go into the portal and search these services as cognitive. And under cognitive services, there are various type of features and functionalities. So what you do is you go and create this resource group, and I have already created a sample for you. So once you created this, you can see under cognitive, there are various type of subcategories like computer vision, custom search, text analytics, video indexer, language understanding services, various type of services. So what you need to understand is you need to keep in mind that this endpoint and keys are the most important thing that you will leverage in your code. So I will show you a sample application which I have developed. So I'm just going into a sample code that I written, very basic one. So this is an application which will give you insights of image recognition. So what I have done is, if you remember, there was a subscription key that you need to apply and also the endpoints. And I have written a small HTML code here and a small JavaScript code to invoke that. And once we upload an image, it will give certain insights about that image, various type of characteristics. So how this cognitive services work is we are leveraging now the pre-trained model through an API. So no, data science training whatsoever, as long as you have some kind of idea on, front-end development with JavaScript and using web services, you are on your way to develop your, AI-based application. Now, I will run this application and show you how it looks like. So this is the application here. I have taken a sample image, and when I click analyze, you will see about this image, what are the characteristics we are getting from a JSON kind of format? About the size of the image, the face attributions, whether this person is smiling, the posture of the head, and whether it's male or female. It even can predict the type of the age and the emotions. So it shows an emotion of neutral and all the other characteristics under those emotions like happiness, fear. So as you can see, as a developer, with just a few lines of code, I'm invoking, face recognition, vision recognition, all under this API. So it's extremely easy for me to build an application with cognitive services. If I want to invoke face detection, other services like speech recognition and even language understanding. So those are the areas.
How cognitive services pricing model work? Any special best practices to follow when we are developing using those APIs?
Yes, that's a good question because cognitive services are all depend on the number of API calls you're consuming. Now, for example, when we do certain conversational digital assistants for customers like chatbots, you can call them chatbots. When we're pricing them, we take to consideration of a lot of factors. Now, if we are hosting this chatbot on their social media or Facebook page or connected to one of their email addresses, then we need to have some kind of understanding on a daily basis how many people are currently, probably visiting their website, or how many people are having, conversations through Facebook, or how many emails they are getting on a daily basis. So you wouldn't be able to determine the consumption 100%, but it's good. It's always good to kind of have an understanding when your application is going to the real world, what is the number of requests you'll start getting? So it's always good to have this assumption and give an idea to the customer saying that on a monthly basis or a yearly basis, you will consume this amount of cost. So it's very easy when you're doing a cost calculation. It's similar to what you do. You just go to the Azure calculator, and under cognitive services, you'll see all of these type of services. Now, for example, if I go to language understanding model, always remember when you're selecting the region, select the region which is most closely to you. Otherwise, you might encounter certain, delays, but it's always best to select the Southeast Asian region and always try to select the number of transactions. Now, like I said, if I know on a monthly basis that I'm getting maybe 1,000 or 10,000 or maybe 1 million transactions, according to that, you will get the kind of estimation of the pricing. So all of these cognitive services works on API consumption. So it's the same theory. For example, if you are doing face detection, also there's a free tier. Most of these cognitive services, there's a free tier. So it's very useful when it comes to the customer side because you don't have to pay, as you subscribe to this. There's a free limitation that you can use maybe for the first few months. And also the other main advantage with cognitive services is because, of course, it's a platform as a service. So you're only using it as you use it. So even though we give an estimation for the customer, if the customer doesn't leverage the number of API calls, if it's less, then only he has to pay for the amount he has used. So it's like something like using electricity. So it's a good advantage for the customer because when it comes to pricing, he only pays for what he uses. And also, just imagine if this customer has to write his own machine learning, deep learning algorithms to detect face detection, image or voice or whatever on his own infrastructure, that costing is so much higher. He needs to invest on hardware, maybe GPU, and then have a web service infrastructure. So this model is very cost effective. Also, it's very easy to leverage for any developer to use these services.
Can you explain one or two real use cases where you have applied these cognitive services?
All right. So we have worked with a couple of use cases for some of the customers, and we see a demand in services that are related to conversational AI, where you see banks and telcos are now understanding the value of having digital assistants. So where these digital assistants can have human-like conversations with customers and try to automate those repetitive tasks. And even in a scenario like this, which you are facing, the COVID-19, businesses can leverage this technology where, for example, their call centers and customer-facing agents are not able to go to work, right? So how can they engage with their customers? So companies can look at technologies like language understanding. So when customers have conversations with their business, the language understanding model will work as a digital assistant and provide those information real time. And other solutions we have seen is that using face recognition. We see a lot of, the financial industry and the banking industry, how they are onboarding their customers without the customer going to the physical branch. So using face detection, how they're detecting the face and how they're doing a verification with their ID or password and try to recognize whether it's the same person and try to automate that verification process. Also, we see a lot of, when it comes to customer experience side, we have got some of the requirements where customers have asked us whether we can try to understand the customer's emotions, right? So we were working with a customer in Maldives, a small POC, where he wanted to kind of do and understand how well the agents are handling the customers. So we were able to install a camera there and identify the customer's conversations and how his expressions, whether he was happy, neutral, all of these insights. So there are various type of areas where we mostly use with cognitive, and then also speech detection. We see a lot of use cases where customers now even don't want to chat. They might want to have a conversation with speech. Then how do we support that conversation? So there the speech recognition models have been trained to identify text to speech, speech to text, and then respond to the customers. So recently, I think even in Microsoft Cognitive, the text to speech is now becoming as good as human. So time to come, if a customer calls the call center in maybe in a 1 or 2 years, it might not be a human agent who will answer the phone. It might be a digital assistant who will answer and have the conversation and do whatever request from the customer. So we see a lot of cognitive services where the automation side of business customer interactions is happening, and also customer onboarding, all of these areas.
Are there any resources available online where developers can see and get an idea about real applications and research and development of these services?
Yeah, of course. Let me share my screen to give that idea. So if you go to Microsoft's AI demos, it's called aidemos.microsoft.com. You will see the various type of real world demos out there when it comes to text analytics, video indexing, computer vision, and so on. Also, there's another important URL which you can write down. It's called AI Labs Projects. Under that, you'll see the Microsoft research team, how they have leveraged, cognitive, probably machine learning, deep learning, and created these interesting projects. Now, for example, a project that I really like is called Sketch to Code. So let me just show you what is Sketch to Code. So in this project, it basically shows you how they are using AI for UI development. Now, if I just use a sample image that I have just drawn on pen, and I just need to automatically transform it into the HTML code. As you can see, it does that. So this is, incredible stuff. Now, going forward, probably a UI engineer doesn't need to spend time coding. If he has that design and creativity, he can just sketch it down and upload it to a AI model like this, and automatically your UI code will be automatically created and programmed for you. So it's crazy what is happening out there. So these are some of the areas which you can see if you go to Microsoft AI Labs, the cutting edge research and real world use cases which have been used for all of these areas, from society impact solutions to business automation to different type of things basically.
There may be organizations who don't want to utilize these pre-trained models, but want to leverage their own data and come up with their own models. What are the services available on Azure to cater this kind of scenario?
That's a good question. So as I explained previously, there are probably main two services. One is the pre-trained models, which I covered under cognitive, which you don't need any data science skills or whatsoever. But as you clearly said, there might be organizations which want to do certain research and experiments on their local data. So Microsoft has enabled these kind of services as well. So let me share my screen. So there is a service under Microsoft, which is called Microsoft Machine Learning Services. So you can easily create those resources in Azure portal as well, similarly how you created. And once you go into those services, so I'm just showing you a small demo of how Microsoft ML Studio. So ML Studio is one custom machine learning development environment where data scientists and data engineers have the knowledge, but maybe they want to do quick experiments and quick deployments where they don't want to do programming and so on. So this environment is really easy, where you can just drag and drop the functionalities. And if you have the kind of basic understanding how to develop a model where you use the data sources and you do a cleansing of the data, and then you split the data according to training and testing data, and all these machine learning models, for example, like two-class boosted decision tree, these models, if you are doing it on your own, you have to program it, but here it's just drag and drop. So if you want to do your own kind of programming, you can leverage that as well. You can write your Python models or R models and incorporate it in this. But most of the time, you can quickly deploy these machine learning models. And these kind of machine learning models, it depends on the amount of data and the use case. So mostly we are looking at straightforward machine learning models that you can deploy here. But if the data and the complexity of the features and the targets that we need to do, maybe sometimes MS Studio might not fit. But if it's a basic level machine learning scenario, for example, like email classification or something like a language understanding model, up to some extent, you can use the ML Studio. So it's basic, it's drag and drop. Once you create your model, you can click run and it will build the model, train the model. And actually, it also creates the web service for you. So once the model is developed, if you can see this button, it's called public set up web service. Once you hit that, it gives you all the endpoints so that you can use it in one of your mobile applications and so on. So this is one service that Microsoft provides as configurable level or drag and drop level machine learning deployments. But also there is another service where you can do your own programming using Jupyter Notebooks, using Python, R for more complex scenarios. And another area which we call AutoML is which we have a data set and we want to see some results, but what is the best algorithm you can use? So Microsoft uses the power to automatically help us select those algorithms, the most optimized algorithms. If you try to do that manually, you might take a lot of time. But using these services, it helps data scientists and data engineers, developers quickly do some, R&D research and incorporate those features in their applications to have AI-driven applications. So in a nutshell, Microsoft is making AI easy for development. It's generalizing AI so that every person can leverage the power of AI, to do, better business applications or impact to the society. So that's about it.